Welcome to Sober Banter. We have Jane and Sarah from Medium Curious here to join us. And since Colin's at work, we are doing a girls' banter. So this is going to be a super fun episode. And all moms. I really love that aspect. But I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourselves because you can probably say a little bit more than I can, other than I know Jane's sobriety date 4808, which so jealous. I want an 8 so badly. And Sarah is January 15th of 22. So just like a two or less behind Colin and I.
Yeah, 2 months, right?
That's crazy. Yeah. What a time. What a time to be sober.
Oh.
So how are y'all? Let's hear. How's your day and what's going on right now?
You want to start, Jane?
It's a good day. I'm sitting in a car, which is kind of a nice recording booth, actually, because we've discovered that our stairs were rotting and have termites.
Oh,
feel the joy.
Yeah.
So I'm in the car, but I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having us, Rachel. This is so fun. It's really fun.
Isn't it nice that we can like podcast from wherever? And yeah. I think if I would have been drinking, it would have been like a meltdown. We have termites. The day's done. We're just, I probably would have canceled everything and then just drank. And, until I couldn't remember we had termites, and that would have been that. And it's like, oh yeah.
And they still would have been there.
And they still would have been there.
And they wouldn't have gone anywhere.
That's the worst part. Well, I'm glad that you're here despite the termites. I'm sorry. We just had a water heater blow up or start leaking everywhere. And
Rachel, that happened to me last week.
Seriously?
New water heater. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Us too.
Yep. Last Sunday, new water heater.
My husband's asking me all these details. I'm like, I don't care. Just do we have hot water? That's about all I care.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow, you guys are like twinning with your sober dates and your hot water heaters.
Listen, so what I was gonna say about the 4-8, no kidding, asked my sponsor in early sobriety if I could relapse on the 8th so I could have the 8th as a sobriety date. And she was like, you're kidding, right? And I was like, yeah.
I'm totally kidding.
And I mean, that does sound like a very naive question, but in my brain, I mean, I got married on 3-8 because 3 and 8s are my favorite number. And coincidentally, my son was born 8-3. And that was not like planned or induced. It just came that way. And so in my emails and stuff have all been 8833. And so you talk about like the kind of medium, I go between like coincidence and like feeling that it's more.
Well, so I'm Sarah and we're mediums. And anybody out there doesn't know what a medium is somebody who is the go-between, translates subtle energy from somebody who has crossed into the spirit world for someone who is still embodied. And I feel like being sober, I became sober because I was a medium. And I feel like, Jane, you became a medium because you were sober? Is that right?
Well, I call it one of the gifts of sobriety. Yeah, for sure. I feel like I would not have become a medium had I not already been sober. And it was a couple of years. I had about 4 years sober before the mediumship really came online. So I do correlate them very closely though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, so what would you say is I feel like I have really, really good intuition. And I've been told that by the 2 sponsors I've had. And even to the point, like, I remember before getting sober, it did scare me. There were times that it's like almost predicting the future, but it's like a gut feeling, but not, and everyone's, oh, you have such good intuition. And I was like, after listening to a couple of years, I'm like, maybe I have something bigger than that. Not necessarily a medium, but maybe is there someone who's like, what's before medium? Just like a little, it's yeah, I don't know. I call it intuition because I'm like, it's that voice, but I mean, I also meditate a lot. And I feel
that has so much to do with
so
it.
meditation, I get a lot, I feel, of like messages, and I don't know. Okay, my way with my husband, I say like God, higher power, he jokes and says like Allah, whatever, is that's just like a language translation to me. So when I say God, higher power, I just mean the universe, something outside of me. And so I just pray. Sometimes I say universe, sometimes say God. I feel it's a interchangeable word. Like there's not a great definition. So yeah, but when I pray a lot, I definitely get intuitions on things. And I mean, I'll meditate for an hour or so a day. I mean,
that's exactly what we do. It's exactly what we do. It is just being open to energy, in intuitive energy, because when you're not meditating, when you're stuck in that story that you keep telling yourself in your head over and over and over again, that's kind of what leads you around. That's kind of what makes your reality. It's kind of what guides your footsteps and pulls you in to different things. Meditation allows your brain to be quiet so that you can sense everything around you.
I mean, when I got sober, that was the first time I'd ever experienced a quiet brain, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I do remember I was like, I think it was maybe week 1, week 2. And
yeah, that makes sense.
Either of y'all experienced that where I was almost always in repairing, so my brain was never quiet. There was always a need to fix.
Yeah. For me, I feel like it's interesting because I was a huge drinker. I love drinking. I was like a drinker to the max. I bartended my whole way through undergrad and grad school. I was like the fun bartender up on the bar, pouring shots of Jägermeister down people's throats. I got married to a guy who came into the bar, and I feel like tequila was our common, like the thing that pulled us together. Like,
yeah,
definitely a big drinker. But as I started to develop my mediumship, and I got into mediumship because there was a big, huge loss. Someone passed, someone I needed to get in touch with. And I had never thought about death before. I had never really thought or encountered, or thought about those bigger things, like what happens after we die. And so mediumship was just a natural thing that I fell into. But as I started to realize, hey, there's subtle energy out there and I can perceive it. The more I drank, the less it felt in alignment with that. The less I felt like I wanted to drink, because what it felt like was that somebody was taking this wet blanket of heaviness and throwing it on top of me. And I was no longer able to sense that beautiful, delicious, high vibration energy that made me fall in love with, being an intuitive.
And that's interesting with restaurants too, because like I feel like that's kind of what made me really good at sometimes reading people, is because you have to. Well, in fine dining, they always taught us anticipate the guest needs. Like you're supposed to know before they know, like the mise en place of putting a fork, putting a drink, hey, do you want to get that? And I was so good at it, and I'm not trying, that's not like in a brag way. I mean, I say that as, and I can't go back now that I'm sober, but, and I think I drank really heavily after shifts. Like, I mean, I got hammered, like, and it was just a lot, because people talk about waiting tables. I'm like, in the fine dining, I mean, it was in bartending too, especially like a St. Patrick's Day night where I would go guest bartend or something like that. I didn't just look at it as a throwaway job. Like I wanted to be good. And
Yeah.
I didn't even think about maybe the energy that pulls of, well, I do know the customer service, you know, we all joke like we've had to, any customer service industry, you're like people pleasing the whole shift and then you come
Yeah.
off of it and
Well, and a drink or two makes it a little bit more fun and it makes it a little bit easier to, it's like that social lubricant, like shots with a customer or, I mean,
yeah.
yeah, the whole of my 20s. That was the whole of my 20s. But I also realized that, you know, because I worked at a bar for such a long time, that I really saw the darker side of the locals that would come in and the heaviness and
Yeah.
that as well. And drinking for me was just a buffer, like a way that I wasn't feeling all of their energy, you know, because drinking definitely deadens your intuition for sure. For at least it did for me. I think I've heard some mediums say that they have a couple glasses of wine and spirits really come flying in, but that's for me, drinking always deadens my intuition, which
I'm
was
like,
kind of lovely.
you can only have a couple glasses of wine. I'm like, that's just like the after. I'm like, there's got to be Jameson before. And oh man, yeah. I just think adding any, what would it be called? Any like substance that alters the mind would interfere with. Like, I wouldn't want to be drunk and do meditation because my meditation, it's like I want to be as on point as I can. I think.
Well, you know, and then I had the theory that the reason they're called spirits, meaning the drinks are called spirits, is because we leave. I'll speak for myself, and I think I heard you say, Rachel, here on your podcast that you black out.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, I used to. I haven't in 3 years. So I mean,
exactly. No, God willing, you're not going to ever again. But that was a thing you did in the past, and I was a blackout drinker as well, and it scared the hell out of me. But my thought was, where did I go? And who's driving? Because something else was driving my body. I was talking, I was animated, I was yelling, I was doing all kinds of things. But I don't have any memory of it, which, you know, philosophically, I was like, maybe that's what happens. Maybe that's why they're called spirits. And oh my God, speaking of spirits, look at your kitty. That's so
They
cute.
think it's their show. I know.
Yeah, it is their show. So anyway, that's my theory. I think it's solid. Let other spirits come in and drive while you're away. Yeah,
I think
it's totally right.
Well, I mean, that's it. I used to like laugh at it, and I would tell a bartender, like, especially if I felt the energy of, I think maybe I like passed out, or you know, I was friends with all the bartenders because we're all service, and if they're like, oh, you did, oh, that was autopilot Rachel, that was not this Rachel. And like autopilot was blackout Rachel who just went on autopilot is what I called it. Because I was still functioning. It's not like I passed out. I just for the life of me could not remember.
Which is even scarier. It's like, oh,
so scary.
What did I do?
To me, I used to think it was like my excuse card. Like, you know, oh, I don't have to take accountability for this. Like, it wasn't really me. And like, I won't even get a vaccine right now because like, where did this, like, I just think it's amazing. I mean, I did also incorporate drugs too, which my husband used to get pretty upset with because when I went on autopilot, the first thing I'm doing is trying to find uppers. And I guess, you know, again, autopilot, wasn't thinking who's around, who's listening. I'm just like, apparently one of the couple weeks before we got sober, we were in Florida and I asked someone right next to a cop, and I, again, don't remember, but Colin is like, you just like have no sense of where you are. And I'm like,
it's autopilot's fault.
That's the, man. I did, speaking of what we did, I've had a lot of requests about dreams.
Oh, yeah.
and drinking dreams.
I had one of those just a couple nights ago, knowing I was coming on here.
And I looked it up actually. I like looked up quite a few articles because I was interested in what kind of, so I'm a psychology major. I went back to school. I had 3 credits when I got sober, and I really thought I had a 2-year-old. I was like, there's no way. And I've gotten accepted. I love school now. I would not have loved it at 21 when it interfered with my drinking, which is why I didn't continue. I went to the service industry. I was like, oh, I can do this while drinking. You know, like it kind of fit. And I mean, it was progressive. But yeah, I think the higher end the restaurant, the heavier the drinking. And I wonder if that does have something to do with the pull of how
there's a lot of
much
pressure though too. The
Right.
higher end the restaurant, the more pressure there is. And if we're not trained or don't have the tools to deal with that pressure, we're gonna use whatever tools are at our disposal. And quite often that's something like, you know, the drink that's sitting
Drugs
right
and
there in your
alcohol.
little station.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it just kind of quiets the voice of whatever, like, if you think of even like the angel and devil on your shoulders of it, kind of makes the noise a little quieter. But one of the things that I saw was drinking dreams while you're sober. One of them was to say it was a way that your body can go through an emotional healing and processing state. And they said it is a safe place for your subconscious mind to process emotions of guilt, shame, anger, fear, and to help you work through that feeling, which I feel like that kind of aligns. I feel badly. I don't really have drinking dreams myself, but I've had many nightmares of my husband relapsing and coming home to him drunk.
Oof.
Because I
that
always
would be
have my
stressful.
tattoo in my dream, and I always look and I like show it, and I'm like, no, I have my symbol. I'm sober.
Oh.
But I've had many of him, and that's weird, right? I shouldn't be having.
No.
No,
No,
there's no
that
weird
makes
in
perfect
dreams.
sense. No,
Yeah,
especially
you control them.
I mean, your sobriety is really tied together. Obviously, you're parenting together. It makes total sense to me that that would be a cause of anxiety. So, what a great place to work it out, not reality.
Oh my god!
And I
You
love
should-
that
but
you have the tattoo.
This is you're looking at us 3 years. The first year it was hard because I saw it. I was all in on AA. Like, I mean, obviously, I got the tattoo, which people told me not to do. They're like, you're gonna relapse. You
In
know,
the
if you
first year.
relapse, you're gonna regret it. And
Yeah.
after I went to a 2-4 meeting, I mean, I wanted it. I wanted to remember that meeting. I wanted to remember that time, and I wanted it. It's not anyone else's tattoo. It's mine. It's little. I look at it. It's a pause button. But he wasn't even sure if he was alcoholic or not. And I really struggled with that.
With him not knowing.
Because he like didn't want to go to me, you know, he just didn't find his groove. And I would be like, did you find a sponsor yet? You know, and no. And he did get one, but they didn't really start working together probably till after the first year. But I had to learn to let go. So I don't want to be the only one talking, but I will share. And I really struggled. I think this is why I kind of tossed and turned last night. I had a deep that rocketed into the 4th dimension. I had. And I've only told this story once, maybe to my sponsor, but it is like profound to me.
I don't know if Sarah knows the context for the rocketed to the 4th dimension.
Don't. I'm
So
fascinated.
I wonder if you can explain before you say it.
I even so in the big book, it's on page 25. It's one of the more I know I printed it. If not, I'll get I feel like I have the big book memorized. So rocketed into, like I said, the first year I went like all in. Bill says there's the point of when you are no longer, you're in this place of neutrality with alcohol. So you're not in a place where it usually comes after step 9, after making amends with the people that you have harmed, and you've now realized your part. After you're done doing that, they talk about that you can look the world in the eye. You're not for alcohol. You're not against alcohol. And you find yourself rocketed into the 4th dimension. And that 4th dimension can be argued, was he referring to, it's someone from 1909. I can't remember his name. I swore I printed it out, but I got excited and printed out a lot of articles. And they said that it's like the concept of time, that it's like that 4th dimension that you can't see, but it can be solved through like a math problem. Like you can see the reality of it for like a potential time travel, if let's say. But the 4th dimension really means a spiritual experience.
Right.
And on that note, that line rocketed to the 4th dimension was the cause of the republishment for edition 2, because a lot of people did not have a spiritual experience when they got sober. And they're reading this and they said, I wasn't rocketed into the 4th dimension. What the hell?
What's wrong with me? Or yeah,
exactly. So Bill added the spiritual appendix, which is why on the bottom of that page, you're going to see a little asterisk at the bottom and it says refer to spiritual experience. I think it's like page 590 something. I have it as tabbed in my book. And he basically explains that not everyone's spiritual experience is the same. Some don't have a burning bush moment. Sometimes your burning bush moment comes in year 2. Sometimes but I mean, they got a mailbox of letters of, I didn't have a burning bush moment like you did at the cathedral or like you did with your, Bob. And so that line actually caused him quite an uproar in the little alcoholic community. And that's kind of fun backstory stuff on.
But you were rocketed into the 4th dimension.
I really feel I was. And it's a common party theme of AA parties. Like I've been to lots of conventions, they rocket, and it's just kind of fun because you can make sparkles. And I've not been to a men's one yet, but girls are big on the rocketed 4th dimension. Again, it's just playful. And
will you tell us a little bit about that being rocketed there?
So, and I mean, I still am lost of words. I don't think he listens, but like, I guess it's the truth. So it doesn't really matter. He's a very heavy drinker. Handles and packs of cigarettes a day. And he's been kind of suicidal on and off. And
it's hard.
There's been, it is, and I feel badly like saying it so lightly, but it gets to a point where, I've told him I would drive down and help him if he wanted to get help, but he doesn't want to stop drinking or smoking or doing anything. So there's not really much I can do. Totally. And I'm not going to sit here and force the program, because that's not how it was for me. I shared, because he had been suicidal and it was her birthday, and I shared in a meeting, I just didn't want him to do anything on her birthday. Like that was my one prayer for the day. Yeah. And I was like, please, 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 like you already forget her birthday. Please don't off yourself on her birthday. And I shared that in a meeting because I was new in sobriety. It was a strong feeling. And I had a lady grab me after in the Al-Anon room, and we sat on the floor, and she's like, you have to let it go. And I was like, what do you mean? And she goes, you have to surrender it. And if we're to take his life on your birthday, that's God's will, not your will. And I really didn't compute it for a little bit. And I listened to her, and there was this, and I surrendered it. And for real, so she literally had me praying, if that's what God wants or what the universe wants, that's what I want to, not playing God, we don't get to pray for, even if it's oh, well, it's protecting, we don't know the bigger plan. And I mean, she sat with me for like an hour in that Al-Anon room, and by the end of it, I let it go, and it was like profound. And yeah, like I felt that was the most sober I've felt, like, from that moment, because I learned, like, I can't control someone else's drinking. I can't control someone else's thoughts. And I mean, it still like gives me goosebumps of like my perspective changed. I was thinking I'm not being selfish because I'm like in protection mode, but it still is because I'm in the way of trying to manipulate. And in the big book, you know, they say like we're trying to play the director of the play. We're like we're the actor, we're the director, and I let it go. And I don't want to be the director, and I don't want to. It's a lot of work, and it's much easier to be just a player. But I haven't even had that fear the last few years. I didn't even realize that, but I don't talk about that as often, just because he's an alcoholic, but I'm also an alcoholic, so I get it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, cunning, baffling, powerful. What a brutal disease. Like, I know that's the topic here, and you're, you know, I have family members who've died from this too. I have other family members I've lost to mental illness through their. It's a brutal disease, and it's a family disease, at least in my story. And you know, I used to I made a film about alcohol, and I hung a bunch of glassware in a tree, and I said, "That's my family tree."
That's about I mean, yeah, and it's weird that both and I do think it played a part in me getting sober. I lost some friends the day I found out my grandma had passed. And she was 27, 26 years sober. And she wanted me to go to Al-Anon really badly because of this is my dad's mom. And then my mom's dad also had just passed earlier that year, and he had been sober since 87. So I used to, after they passed, I would drink, and like I was asking myself, like, are they watching me get blackout right now? And that always gave me an eerie feeling, which I do think maybe I couldn't have gotten sober till they passed. Like, I don't know if they were the part that maybe helped me see what was happening, because it was bad.
Yeah. Well, they're all together. It's like this, you've got this team behind you that wants your highest good, your best outcome. Yeah. Can I share a story?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not an AA, but I feel like I was introduced to it in the coolest way. I was giving a reading to a woman, and there was a gentleman that came through, and he made me feel so much admiration for her, so much love for her, so much appreciation for her, but it felt very fatherly. But I knew he wasn't her father, and I heard that he was Bill's friend. And so I didn't know what that meant.
You're like, who's Bill?
And then I felt this, oh, I'm getting chills right now. I felt this huge crowd of people standing around behind her and around him. And he says, these are all the people that you have helped. And these are all the people who have stood by you. And these people are all your community. And this is what you've built. And it's going to be a legacy that goes on far beyond you, the stretches of what you've created and who you've reached. You'll have no idea. And it turned out that man was her sponsor, who had passed many years ago. Oh, wow. And she had done so much work in this community of being just a mentor and helping so many others who were struggling. And there are so many people in her network on the other side who are just rooting and supporting her.
Wow. I mean, you have to, that's the thing that's like all the people is, I've thought about it, is because I've sponsored women, And, you know, and again, the coolest part about AA is there's no rules. You know, I literally can only share what I did. And I can only, or if I didn't do it, my sponsor probably did it, or, you know, so, and then I've now had 2 girls work the steps all the way, and now they're sponsors and they're having sponsors. And it's, I mean, that's already like 20 women right there, you know? So carrying the message is, I mean, that's the coolest part of sobriety for me. And I think to feel someone, I've wondered how many women my grandma helped, because she was in the program till the day she died. My grandpa did not. He went to AA, got sober, and then more church. But, and again, Colin's kind of opposite, where he's not so AA in the beginning. And I was all in, and now I've kind of been like, there's so many different ways to get sober, and there's not one right. I think that's even what Bill does say on page 164 is more will be revealed. And he talks about listening to that intuition. He talks about, I think if he were alive today, number one, I think he would go on podcasts and talk about sobriety. He invested all of his leftover money before he died into finding a cure for alcoholism. But that's where he had also talked about the struggle of depression. I mean, Bill was big on all aspects of just carrying the message, however that be. And then the people in AA after he passed, I feel, have sometimes been, and really his wife, who started Al-Anon. She was big into, you know, don't change anything. This is how it works. This is the traditions. This is the steps, you know, they're there for a reason. I think they said the steps help us not kill ourselves and the traditions help us not kill others. And that was, but the world has evolved. And so I've struggled with starting the podcast, being on the podcast, talking about sobriety in general. But I do truly believe Bill would do it too.
That's so funny. I love that you have that theory. I mean, the point is we can't represent the program. We can only state.
I would never want to.
We're members. Yeah. No, but that's the whole reason for the anonymity, right? Is so that if, God forbid, you or I went out, people could point and say, this doesn't work because, you know, we went out. But the reality is the numbers are extremely special, and I don't have them at my fingertips, but there are many ways to get sober, and this is one that works.
I printed 12 ways. I was like, I looked up, you know, what are people doing? Not everyone's, you know, that's why there's 12 different therapies out there. Not everyone, it doesn't all work for everyone.
Right. But to your, I think you're doing a service here is what I want to say. And
I hope so. That's the goal.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always out. I'm out about my sobriety, and, you know, and I just call it recovery. And, you know, it's just a room full of people who have the same problem. I call it an allergy. I mean, it's a problem.
Yeah, that's what I say. I put that on my medical record.
Yeah.
They ask if I'm allergic to anything. I say alcohol. I mean, and I'm not, I get some doctors that laugh at it, and I'm like, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, go look at my generation history. Like I am from that tree. I want a picture of that tree, and I will show a doctor every time. This is my family tree.
Well, I did stand up right after I got sober, and I did a bit about it was super fun, actually. I was like, well, I kind of felt like it was the end of my life. I was like, oh, this is so stupid that I can't drink anymore. So I'm going to start hitting my bucket list, and doing stand-up was on my bucket list. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do stand-up. And I did a bit where I'd say, can you believe that alcoholics say they're allergic to alcohol? And of course, I'm talking to a room of alcoholics. They're all having drinks.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, that's ridiculous. Bah. And I was like, yeah, but I do break out in one-night stands.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've been there. That's so true. What's the it's great. Yeah. I've had that happen more. I've never been arrested. I've had plenty of. I had the worst one was I forgot. I blacked out that I had ordered pizza, and this is probably 10 years ago. And the guy used his personal cell, and I thought it was the guy I'd met at the bar and had a one night stand with. Went home, and he kept. I thought he was being joking, like, I don't know who you are. I don't know. I'm like, okay, don't be like coy. It's the freaking Domino's delivery driver, and his girlfriend is on the phone. I was like, oh my God, I forgot I ordered pizza. And I'm like, I had nothing to do with your boyfriend. I'm so sorry.
Oh my God,
the guy that I was with last night. And that's what you're doing. Oh my God. It was so bad. I was so embarrassed. And this was right before I met my husband too. And thank God. Like he saved me from so many.
We'll just say we had some adventures. We'll just say we had some adventures.
Oh my God. So I was gonna say, so what do you guys talk to? How old are your kids? So my son's 5, and we do tell him we're alcoholics, and we talk about it. We say mommy and daddy don't drink, and he doesn't quite understand what that means yet.
He's so little.
Well, he'll say he's an alatot. We're like, you're a little. He goes to meetings with it. He used to. He loves birthday night because there's cake.
That's so cute.
Everyone has. He's grown up in the rooms. Everyone loves him there. Like, I mean, he looks at those people as family, you know, even when we see him just out in public at Target or, you know, I've never had anyone ask me, how do you know so-and-so? But I usually would, I've practiced like a friend of a friend. I don't even say a friend of Bill because it's so popular now. I don't know. I think that would give it away. Right?
Yeah, I just say friend of a friend. I say friend of a friend.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like, or Colin's friend of a friend. I don't know.
Friend of a friend. And you just keep it shut down. Because it just happened to me. I was on island and I'm on a small island. And someone was like, I was with a friend and another fellow. We were looking at the surf. Another fellow walked up and we're chatting. I know him well. I know him really well. And she's like, how do you know him? And I'm like, friend of a friend. And then I just kept walking.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's not a lie. It's
all true. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't lie.
It's funny. I've heard you talking about like going on your podcast, like, oh no, I'm going to the bar. I'm going to go to this party. And what's everyone going to think when I'm not drinking? I'm going to like disguise my drink. It's like, I've been to so many parties now. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
No one cares now.
Yeah.
But I did for the first, even the first Thanksgiving, 4 days sober, I got everyone thought I was pregnant. Everyone was like, there's only one reason Rachel couldn't be drinking. Like there's literally, and by Christmas still, I don't think we had told our family quite yet. Cause Colin, again, he was on, my mom obviously knew cause she was the one that helped us get there. But Colin's parents, he wasn't quite sure what he was.
Yeah.
We didn't know if we were going to stay together or not. And I mean, it was really a day at a time. It takes time. So like if someone is new in sobriety and listening, it's not instant at all. And it took me a while to learn even how to deal with my toddler because I was so used to numbing out to his crazy array of emotions.
Yep.
And I used to tell him, I'm growing up too, honey. Like, I don't know how to handle this. Like, I don't know. And we're learning together. And I was wondering what y'all's experiences as moms. I don't know the ages. I hadn't heard it brought up yet, but.
Well, we have boys the same age. We've got big old teenage boys. That's how we met. They were in the same kindergarten class. So mine's 16 and yours is 15, right, Jane?
Yeah, I got sober and my boys was born a couple days on either side of that. I'll just say, I won't say his precise birthday, but I joked that I was going to call him Chip because at 3 months sober, I got pregnant. And so my sobriety date was allegedly my delivery date. So he's yes. That's what the doctors were telling me. They were like, "You're gonna have a baby on the 8th of April," and I was like, "That'll be a good day."
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I mean, we were gonna name Evan Jameson because that's what we were drunk on, and he got made.
Well, we were gonna have
Other name.
a boy and a girl and call them Jack and Ginger. So yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's just like, but alcohol is so big to me that I was like, I didn't find it alarming that I'm like, I'm gonna name my kid after my favorite alcohol, and
Yeah.
you know, I am glad we went with Evan. I mean, the minute he was born,
He was not a Jameson.
no, and I did have Jameson that day, but no, he was. And again, that's just, I was so excited to have a drink again. And that was kind of my rationalization to Colin. I'm like, I went 9 months without drinking, you know, like I did not have a glass of wine. I had nothing. Well, the night I found out, I rallied and I was like, well, he's survived up to this point. So like, we don't know what's happened. I took like pregnancy tests. It was bad. I would not stop falling asleep. That was when the real blackouts happened. I was like, blackout, fall asleep. And that I knew something was off. So we're drunk going home in an Uber. I stop at the 24-hour CVS trying to incognito buy pregnancy tests. I'm wasted peeing on sticks. And I mean, they're all positive. I'm like, are you sure? Maybe this is a bad one. Oh,
totally.
I love you, Evan. You're the best thing that ever happened. But yeah, we were not convinced yet. Oh my God, that was a wild. But being a sober mom is probably one of my favorite things. But you do get the energy, or at least I have now, that he's in kindergarten. We're kind of starting to socialize with the parents in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And some of them, I've gotten a few weird text messages like for Halloween, oh, there's going to be alcohol around. Are you going to be okay? I'm like, yeah, and then Colin will get like cornered and I think I used to have a drinking problem. Like, I don't know. I have like and he's like, he'd rather just not talk about it. He's like, it's so awkward. Or what are teachers going to think? What are teachers worried that like we've relapsed or something, like as far as school systems, or I don't know. I don't think that much into it, but I mean,
I think he's still so little. And I think you'll find that as he gets older, there's such a huge broad variety of all different kinds of parents out there who have all different kinds of things that they're dealing with. And, alcoholism is just one of the things that people deal with. So you have compassion and you assume and hope that everybody else has compassion for what you go through, and you do the same, because raising a kid's hard. And there's so many different factors that go into being a family. So many.
And again, my mom sober. So, he knows Nana doesn't drink. But Colin's parents do drink. So it's very funny when I think it was maybe at Thanksgiving pointing to a bottle. He's like, what's that? And I was like, I never thought my kid wouldn't recognize, like a bottle. It's just, I never thought I'd be sober. Like I really didn't. Never thought in a million years, it's baffling sometimes to me that I'm like, oh yeah, like I thought that was like my world.
Yeah.
Like my world. That's why I couldn't listen to my grandmother and she would drag me into meetings when I was little. And I say drag because I didn't really want to go. And the only thing I liked is that she'd let me put the dollar in the basket. And I thought that was fun. And then I was ready to go. And there was a bunch of sodas. But yeah, I really if I were to want a medium experience, I think it would be like with my grandmother, because I know how desperately she wanted my dad to get sober. But once even then, she started seeing how bad it was with me. When my dad did come down for my son's second birthday that I don't remember. And it was at 9:30 in the morning. And I was blacked out for that birthday, for a 2-year-old's birthday party. I don't remember. I don't have one picture even. And my dad had made a note the day before that he was impressed with my drinking. And that was 2 months before I got sober. And I was like, wait a minute. If he's impressed with my drinking, something is severely wrong.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the planted of the seed. And then grandma passing away was another. And I mean, after her funeral, I couldn't handle it. I tried so hard not to drink that trip too, because I went to California to go into Santa Monica, which made me miss her a lot. And because I used to go there every summer. And yeah, I couldn't handle it. I'm surprised they let me on the airplane, to be honest. I was done. Those pictures are bad.
Well, yeah.
But it keeps me sober, to be honest. So on the newsletter, I know that you guys have your podcast is fantastic.
Thanks.
I'm going to share it. I already have the logo. I downloaded off your site. So, and I love the purple. Like, it's so simple, yet it's gravitating. I just love the color. I like both of y'all's website. I like that you each individually, because you're both mediums separately.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. But have you done any together? Or no?
We have.
Other than the
Right,
ones that we all
together,
met.
yeah.
But
we have done links together before
Yeah.
too, as well. Yeah.
yeah.
It's yeah.
I
But
feel like
we
it
have
would
our
be
own-
hard when someone you're close with, it's kind of like the same of, I was always told, never sell like a big item like a car to a friend. Like, I feel like that would be like, don't ever do therapy with, someone you're good friends with. I think mediums, I'd be like, if I know you too well, I don't want to, what if I get a reading? I don't want to tell you. And now you're like,
Well, it's
It'll hurt.
nice having friends as mediums because you can ask them all the time. Hey, can you check into this for me? Hey,
Oh my gosh.
did I get the right feeling? Was that my intuition? Is that what you're getting about this situation? Or my
what if they
kid-
don't agree with it though? Has that happened?
It
really.
usually lines up. It lines
Okay.
up pretty
Yeah.
well. Yeah, we
Yeah.
just did it yesterday. Sarah was
Yeah.
running something by me, and I was running something by her, and she just told me exactly what to do. Like the
Maybe that's a part of honesty in the mediumship. Like, if you're not, if you're really true to your core, honest, the feedback I've felt, I've never gotten in a fight sober, and people are like, well, how do you, I'm like, anytime I've had a hard conversation, especially with my husband, or a sponsee where I'm like, I don't want to tell them that, like, that's not what they should be doing. I feel that when I'm honest to my core, like I review and I'm like, I know what I'm saying, I
Yeah.
never get bad feedback because it's honest.
Well, I mean, there is something about being in alignment and being in the truth. And that's the thing about not drinking. I mean, I remember when I was drinking, it was always so fun going out, having these conversations, but it was just like talking shit.
I didn't say nice things. I had a lot of amends for things like I don't necessarily even remember saying.
Right. And then the waking up the next morning is like, oh my God, what did I say? Like, what do I need to be embarrassed about? What do I need to go and apologize for? Is there some backtracking that needs to happen?
I'd have to go look at my text message and be like, why did I say that? Like, it was so unnecessary. Like,
Yeah.
I started drama just to start drama.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. Yeah. And I feel like dealing in what Jane and I deal with when it really is just being radically aligned with what is true. What is true? So, I mean, that's intuition. Intuition is nothing but the truth for you. There's nothing that is going to be untrue for you that you get through intuition. It's always going to be in alignment with your truth. So, I do not think, so for me, it was pretty actually easy giving up alcohol because being intoxicated, having that sway in my judgment there was no alignment in it for me. So,
well, there might have been maybe a little bit, but I'm sure it's like, the chemical, it just sways. Like, I think there were times maybe, but again, it's the embellishment. It's the making it so much bigger than what it needs to be or is. Yeah, I can totally, but yeah, I think that was what Bill's big point too was, like, when he talks about that moral inventory of, I think somewhere it's, you're as sick as your secrets, and is
Mhm.
making sure like you're authentically honest. And again, that's those are the things in sobriety I didn't know I'd learn, like
Yeah.
about I thought it would just be this boring life, and it's like anything but.
Do you know
Huh.
who Martha Beck is?
I do not.
She's
Martha Beck?
Martha Beck. I feel like she's like a spiritual teacher, like a spiritual type guru. And she wrote this book called The Way of Integrity. And she came to it. She was married, she was a Mormon. She had this
Oh.
life of like, this is what it has to look like. This is what you have to achieve. She was like a Harvard PhD, living this life very much in this constrained box. And she was very sick, very ill. She had autoimmune stuff that was making her unable to move. She was really, really suffering.
Yeah.
And she had this epiphany. I need to speak the truth. I'm going to do 1 year solid. Everything that comes out of my mouth is going to be absolutely the truth. I'm not going to say any white lies. I'm not going to say anything to make anybody else comfortable. It's
Wow.
going to be 100% my truth. And she radically, within that year, changed absolutely everything in her life. She's gay. She's got this huge, she just followed what her path was supposed to be. And it was because of living in alignment with her truth. So
it feels better. I mean, I literally
Yeah.
can't explain how, or the best way I would explain is like, the weights at the gym. It's like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have 10-pound weights come off of like, you've been just carrying it, that's a lot of weights. It might not look like a lot when you're like, oh, this one truth was really, but when it starts adding up, it's so much.
And it's the truth to yourself too.
Totally.
It's like, what truths are you are you speaking truth to yourself?
That's where meditation is big for me.
Yeah.
That's where I go in. And
yeah,
I do like guided. I have ADHD, man. Like I can't get there in the beginning. I need someone to count the breath, and then I go silent. But I will get too distracted. I'm like, I've started doing shower meditations, which are awesome. But anyway, yeah. Anyways, meditation was that step 11 in the big book. And again, another inference that Bill does say, go seek people that have more information than me. Go talk to your pastor. Go talk to the rabbi. There is plenty of information that, he also talks about going and carrying the message. He was like, go up to the hospital. He's like, they'll give you, I mean, obviously HIPAA, but he's like, the doctor probably knows more alcoholics than the priest, the pastor. And I think the other note of the anonymity and how it started, the book is how it started. 100 men had recovered. That's what the initial book of alcoholics, it was the first 100 men, not women.
Yeah.
Men had recovered. And now in the 4th edition, it says thousands. So, and that was after, and that was a big edit going from 100 to 1,000. I mean, and you have people just yapping and arguing over traditions. And if you want to see people fight over a paint color of the same yellows, go to a group conscience. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm like, oh no. But it also saved my life. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have been alive if it weren't for what the book I love. I mean, I study it in and out. I found his talks, and he's a funny guy. And if you studying the big book, you can see so much humor. Like even when he talks about more about alcoholism, the guy who goes into work on a Tuesday, and that was a joke because he was too hungover to go in Monday. And there's like these very little things that he adds, and it's nice. I know we're kind of running on time, And I know, can you tell me maybe a little bit about the newsletter?
Oh, just
Like
go to
for
the
people to go.
mediumcurious.com and you can just sign up on the mediumcurious.com website.
I think it's great that you guys have a newsletter. I know that you guys also, I saw you can book a meeting over Zoom if someone wanted to reach out and say, hey, they want to have a reading. You guys will meet on Zoom, correct? So it could be anyone, anywhere.
Anywhere in
Obviously,
the
you
world.
have to do time zones, but you know.
Yeah,
So,
spirit does not need to be in person because it is not in person.
yeah.
And then
This
just
has been
check
a
out
lot of fun.
our podcast because then you can hear all of these other cool stories about, I feel like
They're
I've got
Amazing mediums. And
I think
all
it's so
different kinds of
cool what
people.
y'all do. And it's not necessarily like a sobriety focus. So if you're listening and you know, you're like, oh, it's only, this is not, their podcast is not a sobriety. They are both sober, but it is just a medium podcast. So if you have someone like, you're like, oh, they can't do it because they're so, you know, not sober. That's not what it is. There is kind of different. We just kind of did a collab because we do have this commonality, but it doesn't have Sober Banter is more on the sober side. The Medium Curious is for those who are curious about mediums, and Sober Banter is curious about sobriety. And we're just kind of I thought Friday the 13th, how beautiful to come together.
I just realized it was Friday the 13th. Oh my goodness.
Friday the 13th, my father-in-law, 13 is his favorite number. So he thinks today's his like lucky day. And that's now how I look at it.
Go buy some lottery tickets.
Right?
Yeah.
It's all positive perspectives. I think this was great. So I'm going to have links to everything in the bio. So I'm going to try and do, if I can, like even the embedded, and I'll tag you on Substack too. Sarah, I didn't know if you had a Substack or not.
No.
Okay.
I someday I'll write, but
well, yeah, they're doing now.
They're
doing podcasting and video now on Substack, and it's doing fairly well.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone expands, right? Like, there's always got to be a. I hope that our little sober banter doesn't go too much further than what we are right now. Like, I love this. I love that we've gotten to connect. Thank you guys so much. Like,
that's the one thing about podcasting. It really is fun to connect. I mean, it's just like this cool little universe of
it really is.
Yeah.
And I've learned in the sobriety podcasting world, it's even nicer because everyone is, I haven't had any negative experiences. Like, you know, even reschedules or conflicts, it's all been, oh, hey, yeah, no big deal. Like,
yeah,
you know, again, we're all sober, working. We don't take life too seriously. And it's just been nice. I interned for a podcast, and that's not so much in the sports world. You know, they're more competing with each other. I don't feel that with sobriety podcasts. I don't feel like, you're gonna steal my listeners or anything like that. Like, we're all just like share the message. Yeah, carry the message. So I'm hoping that people come.
You're winning, Jane.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I bet the meetings in Hawaii are amazing. I can't even imagine like that has to be spiritual. At least that's what I would think. So maybe not.
I go to a meeting on the beach on Sunday mornings. It's very special. I mean, it's so beautiful everywhere.
I hope that some people reach out and they want to have a reading or at least follow the newsletter. It's really, I'll be following. I'm excited. I already bookmarked it. So if you saw someone on Spotify follow and save, that was me. I gave 5 stars. So I was like,
Rachel, thank you. And back to you. Your podcast is really fun. I've loved listening to it and getting to know you guys. Yeah, it's very special. So thanks for having us.
It really is. I think the couple dynamic is what I just love. I just love that so much.
Super fun.
I like when I edit and I hear back something he said and I'm like, I did not catch that. I'm like, what? Like when he asked about when I talked about millennial socks and he's like, do you want people to like card you? And I'm like, no, well, no. And I didn't even hear him say that. Just like, oh, he's funny. He's quick. He's quick.
That's adorable.
And I will tell him thank you today because it was harder setting up without him. So I learned
Yep.
something today too, and appreciation.
Yep. Those husbands would love to be appreciated. That's always true.
I know, and I should do it more, but there's a lot going on. I'm kidding. Thank you guys again. I'm
Thanks,
going to go,
Rachel.
and thank you guys for listening to Sober Banter and
Yes.
Curious. Sarah Jane, you have just been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna-
Rachel. Great
I
to
don't
meet
know. I do the awkward.
you. Bye.